de ser constante. Sorry, te falta rango, nene.
Mucho caliente, puto, siéntete. I was born with the crime flow, mucho picante. Put up to the club with the party pack on me. Girl, I got what you need, get it if you want it. Ain't nobody fucking with me, baby, let's be honest. Been picante for a while, I don't see me cooling off. Ball in the jets, now I sleep in the
This is Backstreet Conversations. I'm your guest, Nakir, and I'm with GoddessChi as well. This is the first episode, right? So it's kind of crazy how this happened. You know, like I told you in private, and I'm gonna tell them publicly. Like I seen you on The Boys. Is her name? Yeah, her ID. Shout out to The Boys, right? So I seen on the doing her interview, and I was like really feeling her energy. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, she feel like she my twin or something. You know what I'm saying? Like in female form. You know what I'm saying? Basically, how I'm moving. If you follow me, you already know how I'm moving. So y'all already understand that, and y'all will understand more as we get into it as to why I chose her. Right? So she is someone that I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, cares about her people. You know, she loves being a mother. She's also someone that's very passionate about what she does, and she knows what she wants to do. And I also want to touch on that later as far as how you found your path and how you wanted to, how you knew that this is what you wanted to do and everything, right? So that's just my introduction of myself and GoddessChi. So I mean, is there anything you want to add today? You want to let the people know who you are, what you all about?
Yeah, I am GoddessChi. Just a divine being enjoying her journey. I appreciate you inviting me here today, and I'm just very much so, like you said, somebody that's all for the people. I just love to see black people win. Like Issa Rae said, I'm rooting for everybody that's black.
Yeah, for sure, me too. So I guess one of the things I wanted to ask you was that when did you realize that this is who you are, this is what you wanted to do? You know, did you have to go through like certain trials and tribulations? Did you, was it experience? You know, was this instilled in you from birth? You know what I mean? Or what was it that stuck out to you that says, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I want to be, and the confidence to like go through with that and not, tell us about that.
I really would say it's a combination of everything. Like definitely my DNA, I see a lot of my dad within myself, just as far as how ambitious he was. He was on his own journey of entrepreneurship and doing several different things. Also just my upbringing. My dad did have 18 kids, so between all of us, he definitely showed us love, but there was also like the generational trauma in that. And so trying to figure out how to, work through that and figure out like, I don't have to be like everybody else, but how do I go about fixing the things that I don't like about myself? And then also just having my daughter, man, that really it put like a mirror in front of my face because she's so much like me. And so I would feel like I gotta figure this out in order to make sure I'm doing everything I can to make her environment, just beautiful and not chaotic and toxic like how I came up. On top of some of the things that I went through where her dad led me into moving back. I was here in Texas, and then I went back to California. I was basically leaving a domestic violence situation, and that led me to applying for welfare. And in that, the lady, they pushing you to get a job all the time. And I'm like, I don't want to work at Jamba Juice or Ross or nothing like that. Like, I want to do what y'all do. I know that I can help people if you just give me a chance. And they actually ended up opening up a program to where they took welfare recipients, put them in an internship, and then like gave them the skills they needed to really get off of aid and get on their feet. And so from that, I ended up working in the board of supervisors, but I knew like I'm not a political person. I don't want to do all of that. I want to go on to having my own caseload. And so working with other women who were in situations similar to mine, trying to get on their feet. Like some people want to be on welfare because it's like a come up, but some people just like, I need a little bit of help. If you could just help me. And so I really just took my caseload and did as much as I could with them, but I also got a lot of pushback from supervisors, like, why are you doing so much? Why are you going the extra mile? Like, you don't have to do all of that. So that's what then took me to being like, I could just take this and do it myself. And that's how I came up with my business idea of having the Lifestyle to Legacy Academy, because I feel like it's so important for us as Black women to get rid of our own trauma and understand, like, it's not ours to keep. Like, that's some shit you went through, learn from it, keep it moving, and then you can build a foundation for your kids. You know, you can really build your own legacy once you understand, like, you don't have to walk around with this baggage.
So like, now that was like a lot, right? And I appreciate it because, again, when I made the twin comment, it's like, it's only very few people, right? They always say hurt people, you know what I mean? But then in some cases you have hurt people, and we all can get hurt in many different ways, right? So sometimes hurt people actually don't want to help people, you know what I'm saying? Don't want to hurt nobody, right? And try to, I mean, there comes a point in time where you have to realize, yeah, I can't save the world, you know what I'm saying? But at least I can try to control my ecosystem, my atmosphere, right? And then, you know, hopefully if I can catch another, you know, person or two, whatever, right, that I can kind of like save from that and just be an example for them, which is, I think, what we need to see, right? But the special thing about somebody like you is that you'll go through, well, you went through what you went through, right? But instead of being a victim, you decide to be a victor. Right. You know what I'm saying? Take advantage of the opportunity and not have it take advantage of you. Right. You know, so now, back to your dad, like, with him having 18 kids,
man,
what, like, did y'all all have, like, all right, how many mamas it was, you know what I'm saying, like, for real, like, that, I gotta know that part, like.
You know, honestly, okay, so my dad is actually 30 years older than my mom, so some of my siblings are the same age as my mother, so some things I don't, like, I remember being around, but I don't know all of, like, I know it's 18 of us, and I know it's like, okay, 4 of them got the same mama, 3 of them got the same mama, 2 of them got the same mama, but in total, like, I don't know.
Right. Well, I guess that explains, like you said, he's 30 years senior of your mama, yeah, so it's like, he was already at head start, like, right. for real, right? So, man, that's like, it's not crazy, but it's intriguing, because, like, for him to have 18 kids, right, and for him to be present in y'all lives like that, right? To me, it shows what kind of man he is, in a sense. Like, nobody's perfect, right? But if you got time for 18, right, then how some ain't got time for 1?
Right. That's the thing. Like, that's what made me just really be like, in some situations,
I mean, there's really no excuse for anything,
right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. So it's like if you, like you said, you got time for 18, even with us, it spreads from, both of my parents were from Louisiana, but they didn't meet until they were in the Bay Area. And so for him to still put in time with, like, everybody that's in Louisiana, that's in Texas, that's in Southern California, and the ones in the Bay Area, to me is just like, that's a dynamic person, you know? Yeah.
And also something else that you was mentioning, you know, I personally never heard of anybody that, you know, went and, you know, was trying to get on welfare or whatever, right, and talked to the caseworker and was like, hey, I want to do what you're doing. Like, when you mentioned that to them, what kind of reaction did you get back from that?
So there's different, like, people that I worked with. There was a caseworker who was just responsible for, like, issuing the funds. So if I told her I had a job and I needed a uniform, then it's like, okay, here's $50, go buy the uniform. She gave me a lot of pushback. Like, when I gave her the information that I had been promoted to a supervisor, she kind of was like, well, you ain't gonna be there long, so it doesn't matter if you have a supervisor's uniform or not. Whereas with the job developer, that's the one who really kind of saw the potential in me. And anytime, like, I had a position that I was going to be interviewing for, and she was like, okay, these are the people you need to contact, ask them questions about how they like the position. Really just helping me with my interviewing skills, practicing the interviewing questions with me. her as well as another young lady, I got transferred to her case after the lady was giving me pushback, and I told her the same thing, you know, like, I want to get in the door, like, how do I get in to do what y'all are doing?
Right.
And she was just like, anytime I hear something, I'm gonna let you know. And because she would let me know, and then I would follow through, I would send in the resume, I would do whatever she asked me to do. She was like, you know, as long as you keep showing up, I'm gonna keep showing up.
That
So,
persistence.
yeah, I really appreciate them supporting me, you know, in my vision.
And you know, I can tell, like, you know what I'm saying, your entrepreneurship, like, when you realize that, hey, I want to do this, but I kind of don't want to do it y'all way or for y'all, or how, you know, y'all way, like, to carry on with that and decide, hey, yo, this is what I want to do on my own. Do you have you know, do you have any like college experience, or you just had that like kind of like on the job training when it came to that? You know
Oh no, I definitely, that's what brought me to Texas, is because I was attending Wiley College, and while I was there, I studied sociology and psychology, because I was just always so intrigued about, like, why are people the way they are? Like, why are we doing the stuff we're doing? And especially for us to be Black people, like, everything from our culture, our experiences, our history is different. So that's what made me really just want to tap into studying sociology and psychology. And so having the education brought me to, like, having the opportunity to then get the work experience. And so I really feel like the combination of both of those things is really what brought me here, as well as the experience of having my own child, because it's one thing for somebody to want to help you based on like book knowledge, but when you are a mother yourself or a parent yourself, it's like, it's a lot easier to relate to people that have kids as well.
Right. So see, I see another connection with that, right? Because like I'm born and raised here in Houston, Texas. So I'm a college dropout, and I attended Texas Southern TSU. You know what I'm saying? And that was my major, psychology. So now I can understand kind of like, okay, you not only want to help people, but you also want to know why people think the way they think. And sociology, for those out there who are not too sure about what that is, could you like just explain it, like, you know what I'm saying, 1 or 2 sentences?
Sociology is more of the aspect of like the environment and how, you know, socioeconomics, how our money is within the society that we come up in. What is the environment like? And then psychology, like you said, is more so of like the person within themselves, what is going on within their mind. So sociology is like the outer part of the world that we're in, and then our psychology is the mindset that we get from the environment that we're cultivated in.
Okay, so what year did you start doing the lifestyle of legacy? Like, when did that start?
So it started 2021, but I started it as a transformative mindset community. And then I broke it off because I realized, like, I want to help the parents, I want to help the millennial mothers, but also these kids need help too. So that's what made me break it up into 2 different entities, because I feel like TMC, the Transformative Mindset Community, can focus on the kids that don't have that parental person at home, or maybe they have parents at home, but it's like, I can't have those awkward conversations about puberty because nobody is, you know, certain things are taboo. You know, there's just certain things you don't talk about. So that's what made me decide to break Lifestyle Legacy off and kind of venture it on its own thing. And that's something that I did earlier this year.
Okay, cool. Congratulations on that too. When I first found out who you were, I was like, man, she in Cali. How I'm gonna pull this off? And I realized that you was in Houston. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead and, you know, set it up, trying to make it happen, you know. And I told you about this, and now I find out that, you know, you want to move to Atlanta. Well, that's exactly what you're doing. And I'm pretty sure that when you go there, you're gonna take everything with you, this whole lifestyle, legacy, and everything, right? How do you see the vision of it once you move to Atlanta? Like, what's is anything gonna improve? Anything gonna change? Or do you feel like you'll be more help there? Cause like, we need that type of help everywhere. And I'm pretty sure you can offer that help online, right? And how long were you in Houston for? Like,
a year. I moved out here in September last year.
For a year, okay. So And were you able to help a couple of families, or maybe?
Yeah,
even,
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you?
But like you said, a lot of it can be done online. My vision for it is when I get to Atlanta, just really setting the foundation, and I would like to have a physical place that people can come, but also with focusing on kids with CMC, I would like to be able to travel to different schools and go into different schools and speak to kids, different community centers, you know, just wherever kids are that they are comfortable, being able to bring them what I have to offer so that they know, like, it's somebody out here that got your back, in your corner, and you know, as long as you on the right path, you're gonna be able to utilize whatever resources you need me, call me, I'm here, I'm available, because I understand what it's like to feel like I want to make change, but I don't really have nobody supporting me, or I don't know which way to go, so I want to be that person. I feel like if I had a me when I was going through it, it wouldn't have been so difficult, or it might not have taken so long. And then definitely with Lifestyles to Legacy as well, I would like to do like just different healing trauma retreats and things of that nature to bring women, and not just, I feel like a lot of times single black women have the issue of childcare, so it's like we can have these events where they're kid friendly and we're literally healing with our children right here with us, as opposed to feeling like I gotta get a babysitter, I gotta go to this conference, that type of thing. Like, I just want to make the process of letting go of generational trauma as easy as possible, because a lot of people tell you like, oh, you got to break your generational curses, but it's like, how do you do that? How do you really break down and figure out what is the first process?
So yeah, so that's like what I want to tap into, and I'm glad you brought that up. Like, how do we heal? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that look like? Like, you know, what are like some things that you would say, hey, look, this is kind of like the first step you need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was to come to you, obviously I'm a male. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I was to come to you and be like, hey, look, this is where I'm lacking at, you know, depression, you know, lack of self-confidence, you know, so what would be that first step? Like, if I was your client, what would be like that first time you'd be like, all right, look, let's talk about this first?
I think that even coming with knowing those things is like, that's already a few points on, or like, that's a step up, because sometimes people don't even realize that it is depression. You know, it's like, I'm just fucking mad all the time, and I'm unhappy, but it's like, okay, well, it would start with a candid conversation, and I have like what they kind of refer to as shadow work questions to just figure out and dig deeper to like, what is it that you aren't happy about, and when did this start? You know, and then going back into, because a lot of times it ends up being some stuff that happened in our childhood, we never really let it go, and then it turned into an avalanche of other issues as we became older adults. And so really trying to backtrack into asking those questions of like, did you feel isolated as a kid? Did you feel like, you know, you wanted somebody to be there and support you and you didn't? Like, me trying to figure out my own depression was from realizing like, I felt like there was favoritism between myself and my younger brother with my mother. And so looking into that and then really breaking that down, like, okay, this is where it started. I was like 7 when I noticed it, and then it was just something that picked up. Also, me being a daddy's girl, but then my father passing away at 12, it's like, okay, that's another situation. You know, my dad was in the home, but then he passed away. So is that still a form of daddy issues, as people say? Or, you know, like, just really breaking down how you came up, because how you came up is gonna go a lot into who you are today.
I think we all, and it's just my opinion, man, I think we all got like daddy issues, we all got mommy issues or whatever, right? But for somebody that is having that issue, you know what I'm saying, like an issue with their parents or whatever, right? Like for you, for instance, you just mentioned how, you know what I'm saying, you felt like there was favoritism. Mm-hmm. Did you ever approach your mom about that? Like, did you ever tell her? You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming you probably did.
Eventually, yeah, but like throughout my
And were you younger or older when you did?
I didn't do that until maybe like, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago, so recently.
Okay.
Because for a long time, I felt like that's your mom. You know, you respect her, you're supposed to, that's what they instill in us, that you're supposed to respect your parents and you just kind of do whatever it is they tell you or whatever, you know. And so eventually when I became older, it was kind of like, why is it that every time I go over here, every time you go on my phone, I feel anxious, or I'm like, I got anxiety, and it's like I don't want to be around. And then I had to break that down, like, what is the problem and why do you feel like you can't address the problem? So once I figured out, like, it was so many different things, because it was the favoritism that I was carrying in from being 7, but then it was also seeing how she interacted with my daughter and me never getting that from her. And so then also, like, on a positive note, it was the I love yous to my daughter that I never got. So I was like, hold up, so you are capable of loving. Did you not love me? And then also just sometimes she would speak negatively on me in front of my daughter. And I didn't really like that either. And my whole thing was, you had your chance to raise me as your child, and I'm deciding how I want to raise mine. So if I'm uncomfortable with you being left alone with my child, I have to nip this in the bud in order to save my own child, in order, to make sure she's not trying to heal from the same things that I went through. So eventually, I was at work one day, and I had one of those like yellow notepads, and I just started going in, writing everything down about how I felt, and then I gave her the letter, because at the time she was actually keeping my daughter. I think it was like spring break or something was going on, and so my daughter was telling me all of these things that was happening. I'm like, I gotta stop this shit right now. Like, we cannot go any further with this. And so I wrote the letter and I gave it to her. But then when I got there in the heat of the moment, I kind of felt like she's probably not gonna read this anyway, because I've tried to have conversations with her before.
This shit gotta get said.
Right, because the conversations that I've had before, it's like, you just throw me a little lie and you think I'm gonna keep quiet, or I'm not gonna question it any further. So my intention was not for it to be an argument, but as I started speaking, it became very intense, and because I was passionate about having to harbor all of this stuff for a long time. And I just basically let her know, like, it's gotta stop. And I said, I want you to come to therapy with us, like all 3 of us, like, let's go to therapy, let's just figure it out. And she was like, ain't nothing wrong with me, I don't have no problem. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I respect that if you don't want to go. Her and I are still going to do our thing, because I'm going to make sure that we're good. And I just felt like if I'm putting boundaries in place and you don't want to comply with them, that's cool, but I'm going to leave you where you at. And so for like a year after that, I didn't speak to my mother. And I just randomly ran into her in the airport like a year later. Literally, it was like a year later. And so I just felt like that was God trying to give it to me, like, give it a chance and see how it could
So
go.
how was that interaction like when you ran into her in a public setting?
Man, I'm glad it was in public. But also, like, it was my daughter. My daughter recognized her significant other.
It's kind of hard to, I got you.
So she was like, I think that's Mr. So-and-so. And so she went and spoke to him, and of course he was there with my mom, so we spoke. But I was like, it was good to see you. Our Uber is on the way. And so I just left it at that, and I allowed her to reach out if she chose to, and she did. And I also saw that in her interaction after kind of being put on ice, it was like she came at me with more respect.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it definitely, we're cordial. Everything is good now. She actually just came out to Houston not too long ago to visit. So
really?
I'm glad that things have improved, but I also understand, like, you got to take the title away from people. If you were not my mother, would I kick it with you on a regular basis? Would I be your friend? Would I be your acquaintance? Would we just see high and by? And so that allowed me to really see, like, you don't have to always show up for people because of the title that they hold. Think about how they treat you. How do you feel when you're around them, and move from there.
Yeah, big facts. Like, what I'm saying? That's something that I had to realize, growing up without my father, there's a lot I had to learn on my own, you know what I mean? But for you to like have that type of relationship, like with your mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you say to someone else who probably was thinking just like your mama and was like, I ain't trying to talk to nobody? Like, what do you say to those people that feel like, I don't need to talk to nobody, or I don't want to talk to nobody, or this, that, and the other? Like, I mean, of course you think differently because you took the action, actually went to therapy or whatever, right? But what would you say to those people that feel like, man, I don't need to talk to nobody, like, don't nobody know me, you know what I mean? Like, but what do you say to those people?
Honestly, it's kind of like you being real. It's like you've been in this situation for so long because you chose not to talk to nobody.
Exactly.
And so it's like, at what point do you say, this is not working, let me try something else? Even if it's not a therapist, it's so many people out here now that are trying to help others heal. Like, get you a mentor, get a book. It's guided journals that'll help you really address, like, these are the types of, journaling is cool, but when you just on a blank piece of paper, it's kind of like, you don't really know those questions to ask yourself. When you got a guided journal, it's kind of like, oh, this is tapping into some stuff I ain't never even thought about.
Yeah, everything to me, everything's like energy, you know what I'm saying? So even if you write the shit down and just get it off you, you know what I'm saying, you'll feel a whole lot better because you ain't harboring that shit,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But then you got people that, you know, if you talk to somebody, maybe talking is a better form of expression for you. So, and I think like one of the best things when I think about like therapy or anything like that, right? Because therapy is not go to a psychiatrist, sit down, talk. Therapy be talking to anybody, you know what I'm saying? And I think one of the best things about therapy, and I never went to quote unquote therapy, but like just talking to like different people, you know what I'm saying? Of course, probably like not on camera, you know what I mean? Which if that's what somebody want to do, ain't nothing wrong with that. But I feel like the advantage with that is you get to talk to somebody that don't know you, so there's really no embarrassment there, because that person don't know nobody you know, so it's not like they can run back and tell somebody that you know and embarrass you that way. So to tell somebody that you have no ties with, it's just a physical, it's another physical form of writing it down, but you're saying it verbally to someone else, you know what I'm saying? So I think that people that have an issue with therapy, they need to try to look at it in multiple ways and not just, oh, I gotta go sit down and pay somebody and talk to somebody about my problems. It's like you said, you in the position that you in right now, and you be doing it your way for however long. Hell, just try something different. See what the fuck gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be like just stuck one way. Like,
and even with therapy too, I kind of had to treat it like dating. Like, I had a therapist, and it was like, this ain't working. I need you to be more open with me. Don't just, oh yeah. Like, give me feedback. Like I need this to work because I'm trying to get rid of this right now. And it's a process because we've been living with these traumas for so long. So it's going to be a process to unpack it and get rid of it. But at the same time, if I notice like it's not working out, then I got to keep it moving and find somebody else that's going to be more beneficial. And then, like you were saying, talking into different things. I did something that was like really cool to me. I wrote on a plate. Like, I just wrote all the stuff I wanted to get rid of, and then I went and threw that bitch at a train track. And just like watching it just break and shatter and kind of like releasing all of it. It's so many different ways to let go of trauma. Like, it don't have to just be therapy, like you said. You know, you could write something on a piece of paper and then put it in a flame and burn it. You know, put it in the river and let it float on.
I see. I wouldn't have thought about all that, but that's interesting that you said that, you know, there's different ways to release that trauma that you're dealing with. And again, you know, we all dealing with trauma, you know what I'm saying? Like
being
any
Black
form
in
of,
America.
right, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably like one of the worstest ones, because not only are you born in it, you know what I'm saying? And by being born in it, you know what I'm saying, depending on your situation, you experiencing that shit every single day. You understand what I'm saying? Then on top of that, you got people that's profiting it off of it and throwing it in your face. Like, I was just watching something the other night, like a damn trailer came on for, what's that new movie called? Something Woman, Warrior Woman, or God, what's the lady's name?
With Viola Davis?
Yes, what's the name of that movie?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about? So it's Woman Warrior. So I'll probably throw like a clip or something here right now to show y'all what that is. But, you know, they was talking about it, and I realized that, and I found out that it was directed by a white woman.
Really?
So I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. And, you know, shout out to 19 Keys, man, because he like mentioned it the other day. I was watching on his podcast, and he was just like, you know, now you got the oppressor. See what they didn't do this time, and I haven't watched the movie, so I definitely will do that, you know what I'm saying, just for journaling purposes. But I don't want to say they had a white person in there, right? Mm-hmm. So what they did was they went and got a white producer, you know what I'm saying, to produce it. So yeah, they probably went back to Africa and all this other shit and shot and filmed it in Africa or whatever. But you still have a white person's vision about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's a disrespect to me to shoot a story or a film about African people, you know what I'm saying, or a certain culture of people, but then have it directed by somebody else from another culture.
Right.
I don't give a damn how much you call yourself relating or you're tapped in and this, that, and the other. You're telling the story from my opinion, from a technical point of view.
Right.
You ain't telling it from an emotional point of view. You can never tie to this shit.
Right.
You can feel empathy. That's cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you feel, in my opinion, you feel that much empathy, go find somebody else that's from that culture, that's
Right,
went through
put
that
them
shit,
on.
and put them in position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by profiting off of, you know what I'm saying, our trauma or whatever, right? Same thing with, you know, hell, Roots and any other black film. I actually seen another trailer too. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was for the Emmett Till story.
Oh, I did see that.
Why? That's like my only question. Like,
It's been so many things because it was like 2 different documentaries on Hulu. One was supposed to be like a documentary style with the info, and then another one was supposed to be like a scripted thing. And now they have this movie coming out, and like you said, it's like I'm getting a lot of profit.
now that's
What
my,
is this going to?
right. So that's my thing, right? Like, so documentaries like presented differently. You know what I'm saying? A documentary, as of late, you know what I'm saying? If it's like a high profile story or whatever, right? You know, they're promoted or whatever the case may be, but there's a lot of documentaries that just like aren't promoted. It's just like for educational purposes, you know what I'm saying? But this shit here is just like on the whole grand scheme, and like I just got a bad vibe when I seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I already knew what it was, and I think that's a bad thing, right? Or maybe I'm just good at reading the room and picking up shit very quickly, but I already knew what it was about before they even put like a flash of a title or anything, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, small little black boy, okay, I can see the way they dress this back in the day. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, the mama crying, man, it's Emmett Till.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's due to trauma.
Yeah.
Because I done seen it, I done read about it so much and heard about it. Also, I was able just to pick up the physical motions of what they were doing. Like, man, that's the story about Emmett Till. Like, and why do we want to watch that?
Again.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And again and again. So, man, like, but you know, something else that crossed my mind too. Like, what would you say is our problem? Not our problem. What do you recognize that we could do as a community? You know, I'm talking about black folks. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, the answer always is love, and you know what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that it's not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's ultimately what all that shit boils down to. But you know, some people need action steps.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you think that things will get better? And I have my opinion about that too. But I want to know, like, do you really think that things can actually get better with the relationship between black men and black women? You know what I mean? And us as a whole, because honestly, we behind the 8 ball, and I know everybody not gonna. Some people just not gonna really care.
Right.
Some of them, they don't even know that they don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because they you know, everybody, like Jay Prince said, everybody elevated don't go to the top. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you think that's something that we can do to have a better relationship with one another? Because I feel like we're so lost sometimes, and I know there's something that, like, just tell me from a woman's perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't talk to a lot of women all the time, so to talk to another black female that twinning with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you see as one thing that we can do?
I definitely would say you have to get tapped in with yourself. Like, knowing who you are is going to open up the door to being able to interact with other people in a certain way. And to me, it's like a lot of kind of just like, I guess, I heard a lot of people say like, oh, no new friends, or they're not open to new connections or anything like that. But it's like, why though? Like, if you really get down to why you don't want to connect with somebody else, it's because you're not connected with yourself. And we don't connect with ourselves because we're taught so much about like I know for women it's kind of like, well, this is how you clean the house, this is how you get a man, this is how you keep a family. But it's like, well, what about me? Like, what do I like? What do I not like? How can I put in boundaries in place if I don't really even know what I like or what I don't like? And if I can figure out who I am, I can be open to interacting with the right people in the right way. Like for me, I used to just really be closed off. I didn't want nobody to hug me. I didn't want like, hey, how you doing, chump deuces? But it was because I was really protective of like, I don't know you. I don't, like you said, energy is big. So if I can be open to realizing like, God is within me, God is love, I can give love to other people without expecting anything in return. But a lot of people be so closed off because they're not really tapped into the God within them, if that makes sense.
Right. So it sounds like you're saying that in order to connect and interact with other people, you gotta start with yourself first. Number one.
Yeah.
Right. So do you do so?
Hey, what's up? It's God Nakir, and this is Backstreet Conversations. On this channel, we're gonna talk about a multitude of things, right? We're gonna talk about life. We're gonna talk about business. We're gonna talk about finances. We're gonna talk about relationships. We're gonna talk about a multitude of shit. Pretty much everything that's under the sun, you understand? Look, I need y'all to lock in with me. I need y'all to travel down these back streets with me while we have these conversations. I need y'all to like. I need y'all to subscribe. I need y'all to hit that notification bell. I need y'all to share. I need y'all to engage with the content that I'm dropping, man. I want to hear from y'all. Y'all make this channel what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Without you, this channel is not important. I can't stress that enough. So again, this is your boy God Nakir. You can find me on all social media outlets at God Nakir, and also look for Backstreet Conversations as well on all social media outlets. Let's go.
Realizing who I was took me to go in solitude. Like I stopped talking to my friends, I stopped going out, and I just really sat with myself to say like, these are the things that I've been doing, but what is it about these things that I don't really like? Like I don't want to go to the club no more, but if I don't want to go to the club, then what do I want to do instead? Oh, well, I like to paint, I like to write poetry, so it's like, well, how can I get more into that? And then I started looking into places where like, where could I go recite some poetry in front of a bunch of strangers? So, you know, like I could get my feet wet with that and see if I really do like that. So really being able to just be okay with isolating yourself for a while so you can get in tune with yourself. And that takes time because it's like you have done so many things for so long. You gotta peel back the layers and get to like, what did you like as a kid? Like, what did you know, those are probably the things that you still like now as an adult. It's just more adult ways to do them. So it's a lot of people who, you know, for painters, if you like painting as a kid, you can maybe like do the outlines and host classes for kids and teach them how to paint. Or, you know, it's just really tapping into what are your God-given skills. And being able to get into that, to me, was how I figured out like who I am, by tapping into like what am I just naturally good at. And then also once I was able to do that, putting myself in environments with people that were like me, so that it wasn't like you said with us having babysitter issues, right? If I find a tribe of women and we all got kids, like we can do things with our kids as opposed to trying to go out without them. And then that will allow us to still be on the grown-up time, but also giving our kids examples of what it is to be in positive relationships. So definitely, man, starting with that solitude, it's like, it's hard because it's, you know, people are not used to being alone. We kind of use other vices to just really like, a lot of times we don't want to sit with ourselves, but you gotta be willing, you gotta have the courage to just say, you know, like, honestly, God put you in this world by yourself, and when you die, you're gonna die by yourself, so you might as well fuck around and be by yourself for a minute, so that way the time that you are here can just really be more powerful.
Is that something that you still do to this day?
Isolation?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I know when, like, it's cool, you want to go out, you want to hang out, that's fine, but like, I know when it's time for me to go because I'm cool. I know myself.
Yeah.
And so it's like a mixture of, and honestly too, I feel like Houston did that for me without me wanting to do it for myself, because coming out here, I came out here trying to work on putting my family together. So I only knew him and his people, but I ain't really like want to hang out with them. So I spent a lot of time by myself, which allowed me to rediscover myself basically. And so it was like, a blessing in disguise, because me being able to work from home and then also not wanting to go anywhere, it's like, well, what you want to do, Chi? Like, the world is ours. You want to get a painting situation going, you want to color with your daughter, like hiking, going to the park. These are all things, like, it's so many different online tools. There's like Meetup, there's Yelp. Like, get out there and discover what it is that the world has to offer, because even though you may tap into things you like to do as a kid, it may be some brand new stuff that you never knew you liked to do. I never had skates as a kid, but I took my daughter skating because she asked me to, and then I was like, wait a minute, I actually like this. So,
okay.
you know.
So did you learn how to skate, or you already know how to skate before?
Nah, I didn't know. I was like a baby deer just wobbling, and she was just doing circles around me, but it was fun to be able to do something that I hadn't done before, and I wasn't scared to tap into, like, yeah, I've never done this, but fuck it, let's see what happens, you know?
Yeah, you know, and then that solitude, that's a real thing, right? 'Cause, like, I remember, and we talked about it too, like, it was on, I think it was on your live or something you posted, you was like, I talk to myself.
Yeah.
I like, oh, that's cool, like, 'cause like I do that same thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nothing wrong with it, you know what I mean? Because even when we thinking, that's still a form of communication with yourself. But for me, like, I actually go through the whole shit, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it sounded like if you was, like, if I was in another room, the door was shut or something like that, and you heard me in there, you be like, man, who the fuck is he talking to? You know what I'm saying? Like,
me?
You know, and sometimes I answer myself out loud, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm just like pouring out to myself, just talking, you know what I'm saying? And
That's important.
right, so I'm curious, like, when it comes to astrology, how you feel about astrology? Like,
Man, so I recently got into reading my own natal chart, and it blew my mind. I was
natal
like,
chart, what that is?
So it's a form of astrology, but it's like so much deeper than just like, oh, the moon is in Virgo right now. The new moon means, like, you know, new beginnings, balance, that type of thing. But like your natal chart is gonna go deeper into like all of the planets where they were when you were born, and that's why you need like the exact time, because planets move even by the minute. So for me, it was like a lot of just like it talks about so much. I won't say like I'm just some.
So what does that mean? What does that mean when you know what time you was born, like the exact time? Are we talking about when your entire body's out the womb? Or are we talking about?
Well, that's how far astrology goes. Like, it even goes deeper than just your body being out of the womb, because okay, so it takes a woman 9 months to create and harvest this child, right? But in those 9 months, the moon is moving too. So your arms come in at a certain time, your body, your head comes in at a certain time. So there are different body parts that you have, like your kidneys might be in a certain house right now. It's like 12 houses, and each house talks to like your financial or your family or your career, things of that nature. So each body part, you like, it may be time to focus on your kidneys today, and so you'll do certain exercises for that. But then by this time tomorrow, it may be something else, or this time next week, it may be something else. So it talks about like the elements: fire, water, air, and earth. It talks about, like I said, the different houses, which that is something I'm still trying to grasp the aspect of. But I definitely believe astrology is a real thing. Like, it's definitely something that you can look at and then put it into real life. And just like with our generation of the 80s babies and all of the stuff that we're going through, all of us more than likely have our, I forget what it is, but it's something in Pluto. And that's why we have gone through everything. And so like our kids, they're coming out like these geniuses already off the board. You know, it's like they have so much knowledge, and they're just so open to learning, because all of their planets are, it's like one basic planet that's in alignment for everybody in the same decade. So it's very much.
Yeah, that's like that's real deep.
What do you think about astrology?
I mean, astrology to me, I mean, I don't know. Like, I find it kind of weird. Like, you know, when I read certain things or whatever, and you know, it says this about the Virgo, or this about the Taurus, or this about the Aquarius. I'm like, you can say it. Like, I've seen shit about one sign, and then it'd be the same thing for another sign.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be like, who making this up? Like, who coming up with this shit?
Right.
That's a better term. Who coming up with this shit? You know what I'm saying? Because So there has to be like certain little, like, okay, let me ask you this. What is your sign?
I'm a Libra. My
You're a
birthday
Libra.
is in 2 weeks.
In 2
no,
weeks?
3 weeks. Yes.
3 weeks, okay. You a Libra, and I'm a Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
You know your sign, right? So what's one thing about your sign? Betty, I'll do this, because I know this about a Virgo. I'm quote unquote like a perfectionist. Sometimes that hinders me, sometimes it plays out great. Is that something that you have a problem with, or is that like a attribute of yours? Like shit has to be perfect, or is that just like a human nature thing? You know what I'm saying?
So I definitely agree that it's almost kind of like who's making this stuff up. It comes from like this Greek person named Placidius, I think, but I think now when people put it out there, they water it down as opposed to getting like how in depth he got. But also I do think like all of us in human nature just share some of the same things. So for you saying you like a perfectionist, for me, one of the things about Libras is that we're indecisive. We have the symbol of the scale. So it's like for me, I'm gonna outweigh every possible option before I move forward with making a decision on something, because it's like, okay, well, what are the pros and the cons? And if I choose this way, what could happen? What's the backup plan for that? And if I go this way, what's gonna happen? And what's the backup plan for that too? And so that could be seen as perfectionism, because you want to make sure you're picking the best possible perfect option that there is. So I definitely think that we all relate in some way, regardless of what sign we are.
Yeah. See, now when you say that sounds like what they call that. Well, like you said, you be indecisive on some things. So I find myself like indecisive too sometimes too. So I think it's just one of those things that relate, and maybe it's like a balancing thing, right? I read this book, actually an audio book. I don't want to say I read it, but an audio book it probably like 5 times maybe. So I digested it pretty good. It's called Superior Man. And well, actually, The Way of the Superior Man.
I gave that book to my cousin.
And it talked about, this is what I learned about feminine and masculine energy. You know what I'm saying? And we all have it. Like I got feminine, you got masculine. It's just that you may hold more feminine. You know what I'm saying? And I know for sure me, I hold more masculine than feminine. But I have some feminine traits. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. It ain't got nothing to do with being gay or none of that shit or soft or nothing like that. But to my point about feminine and masculine energy, like what do you say to someone that, because and this is something like I want to talk about. This just really came off the top of my head right now, because like I found myself like seeing certain people and I'm like, okay, because like people think about, okay, how do you become gay? Like how does that happen? You know what I'm saying? Were you molested? Was you know what I'm saying, was you just brought up around, you know what I'm saying, the opposite sex so much to where you just picked up that energy? Like what do you think that comes from something? Do you think you're born gay? Do you think that somebody is something that they choose to do? You know what I'm saying? Do you think that society plays a role with the imagery and everything like that? Like what do you think about that?
Honestly, man, sometimes I don't even know what to think about it, because it's so much. Like when we were coming up, it wasn't like blasted in our face like how it is now with the cartoons and like the advertisement and even the colors, and like certain places not having a boys and a girls section, it's just the kids section, and all of that kind of stuff. So I've seen examples where it's like you only 4, but I can tell which route you're gonna take. And so it's like with you being so close to just being born, how do you know that, like you said, when you pick up on these mannerisms, that's what you have began to pour out into who you are. But also my own experience, I was attracted to females before I ever even liked guys. So it was like nothing happened to me, nobody ever touched me or anything like that. It was just like I really like her and I think she's cute. And then eventually I did start to like guys as well, but it was just, for me trying to figure out myself, it was just like I don't even know. you know. And so I think that that's another thing. They do kind of touch on the feminine and the masculine in the natal chart as well, and you can see like, you know, you got more masculine energy than not, or you got more feminine energy. I don't know how to calculate it, but it is something that you can see when you get your chart read. And so I think it just is different for different people, because there are situations where it's like, if that's all you ever know, you kind of just don't go with it. And then in situations like Rasby from B2K, where something happened and it was like, that just is the route that he took. So I really think just like everybody is different. Even if you're straight, you different from the next straight person.
Right.
It's just different situations brought them to where they are.
Yeah. And you know, I ain't gonna lie, you gonna have some people watch this shit, they gonna get super fucking offensive. And I really don't give a fuck. But at the same time, like, I don't have a problem with gay people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was homophobic for a long time. You know what I'm saying? But I think that over time, you know, I just began to realize that I need to be focusing on me.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Some people say like it ain't no balance. Ain't no such thing as balance. You know? But life, to me, life's about perspective. You know what I'm saying? You see it however you see it. For me, I'm gonna say that it is and it ain't, and I ain't gonna try too hard to focus on it. But I do find myself at times struggling or feeling that guilt, that remorse, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I find myself working when I feel like, damn, I should be present, but I also be aware of that moment mentally and say, oh, yo, like, let me shut this laptop.
Right.
Let me put this phone down.
Right.
Even if it's 15, 20 minutes, because sometimes that's all a kid want. They just want you to interact with them for this amount of time, then they gone about their way. You know what I'm saying? So I think that for even entrepreneurs that's struggling, like, they should, first off, and I suck at this, like, and I don't know if you had that same problem, but like scheduling sometimes, like, man, that's like one of the hard, but I know that in order to get to another level, that's something that I'm gonna have to conquer. And if I can't conquer that, I need to get somebody else who can conquer that for me, put that in place, you know what I'm saying? So I am learning that, but how do, you know, what's your advice to somebody that's dealing with that? Like, what can they do to help them with that?
Sacrifice. Sometimes it's like, I'm gonna get up 2 hours earlier and be up at 2 instead of 4 because I really want to take a bubble bath and this is the time that I have to do it. Or like you said, paying attention to the moment. Like, is this something that I definitely need to pay her attention right now, or can I encourage her to do something on her own? And I think her being an only child helps, because she's starting to tap into the things that she wants to do. She's like, can you buy me a doll head? I want to learn how to do hair. She be looking on YouTube and writing raps and stuff based off of like the beats she finds and stuff. So it's like,
I heard that she keep it up. She'll have
she got a whole album. She's like, can you give me a studio? Like, can I go record? So pushing her into doing the things that she wants to do. And then also sometimes I invite her in to see what I'm doing and have her understand, like, this is why I'm trying to do this right now. Like, you saw how we went and did X, Y, and Z. That was fun, right? Well, I gotta be able to continue to make more money so we can do more things like that. And so I'll let her sit in on certain things that I feel like will help her understand, this is why I'm going so hard. I still love you, but I've got to put in the work right now so that we can just chill later. And then she'll be like, okay, well, you know, like, want me to bring you some water or anything? And she'll understand, like, okay, mommy got to work. And it's not because she don't love me, but it's because she does love me. And so really just being able to understand with, like, you know, you're going to have to stop watching the Netflix shows, or, you know, get a planner. And like you were saying, struggling with the scheduling, sticking to that planner is something that's helped me. It takes time to really plan out your whole week, but if you can plan out that week 2 hours on Sunday and then put everything into your phone with like the calendar or timers or something, that can that's helped me stay in alignment with like, okay, I got to start wrapping this up because now I should be working on this, and then I got to move to that. Really just taking it step by step and day by day, because every day is going to be different, but also really understanding, like, sometimes maybe I gotta stop doing so much of this so I can get back into doing that, and that way I got my foot in everything equally, as opposed to something being left behind.
Lifestyle with legacy. That's it, right? Lifestyle.
Yes, Lifestyle to Legacy
Lifestyle,
Academy.
Lifestyle to Legacy Academy. Where do you see it going? What's is there like an end goal? You know, Are you working with anyone else right now? You want to work with somebody else, like sponsorships? Like, can you talk about that a little bit more?
Honestly, I don't have, I wouldn't say like an end goal to it in terms of like once I do this, it's over, because I feel like it's going to always be necessary to provide what it, yeah. So it's like as long as people keep showing up saying I'm ready to transform my mindset, I'm gonna keep going with it. But in terms of working with other people, I definitely want to be able to bring on just other mindset strategists, coaches, like whatever it is that they want to call themselves, as long as they're able to provide the same level of support. I'm open to networking and connecting with other people, because I definitely know that sometimes it's the same thing with our kids. We tell our kids something and it's like, oh, whatever, mom said, whatever. But if they hear it from the teacher or they hear it from a friend's mom or something, it's like it clicks better. So sometimes you don't need it from me, or the way that I say it may not resonate, but if you hear it from someone else, then it's like, as long as you get the knowledge, go with it. You know, it don't have to always come from me, and I'm open to putting other people on because somebody put me on. So it's like, if I see the potential in somebody that they have what it takes and they just need the position to get out there, who am I to hold them back from being able to tap into their greatness the same way I was able to tap into my greatness? So I definitely would love to partnership with other people. Open to sponsorships is just as long as it resonates with the mission of, the brand.
Of course. So, like with your daughter, what are some of the things that you like instilled in her, or like what are some things that you do with her, like practices or whatever, right? That kind of like, not only that you wish that you had, but that you're doing for her better benefit.
Definitely, I'm big on the I love yous, because that's something I wish that I would have had. But I try to break things down to her so she can understand it. My biggest fear is being taken from this world without being able to instill in her everything she needs in order to be a successful young lady. So if she come to me with a question, I'm gonna break it down like to the bare minimum of being able to allow her to like really understand the process of it. And so sometimes she'll be like, okay, mom, you're going into geek mode. But it's like, I just want you to be knowledgeable, So definitely just allowing her to learn, and then also putting her in front of everything. Like, she's done ballet, she's done basketball, she's done, like I said, she's getting into music. So anytime she tells me she's interested in doing something, I find a way to provide that for her so she can tap into what it is that she likes. And if she, if she likes it, she's like, I want to do more, all right, how can we do more? And if she's like, I did the basketball, but I wasn't really feeling that, like, okay, cool, I'm not gonna force you to do something just because, like, some parents that's like, I want you to do ballet because I did ballet. But it's like, if you don't want to do that, then we're not gonna do that. And just allowing her to be her own person, and I question her thought process a lot so that she is in the mindset of thinking for herself. Her and her friends have a group chat, and she'll tell me about the stuff that's going on. And so I asked her, like, well, what do you think? Like, if none of them were there and you had to choose for yourself, what would you do? And so that will allow her to just tap into her own power, if that makes sense, because I don't want to say it's associated to astrology, but it's this thing called your life path number, and you calculate that by putting all the numbers in your birthday together. So mine is 10/20/1989. All of that put together breaks down to 3. And when you look at what the number 3 represents, it's the grand communicator. So for me to be someone who's open to speaking, open to, having this academy and everything, it's like that's in perfect alignment with who God already made me to be. When I broke down her life path number, she's a life path number 1. That's a leader. So for me to do things that cultivate her leadership skills, I just try to tap into, like, again, those God-given talents, like, what are you good at? What do you want to do? How can you be beneficial to this world based on, what you're naturally good at?
But I never did that with my kids. So I'm going to do that, you know what I'm saying, just to kind of hopefully help navigate and find their way, you know what I'm saying? Be like, all right, look, this is your number, right? We already did X, Y, Z. You kind of gravitated towards this one. but you still find a little bit more interest in this one. But we clearly know that this one comes a little bit more easy. So this is what we're gonna be paying attention to.
Right.
You can do that other shit as a hobby, but this is number one. You know what I'm saying? Until we find another number one or whatever, right? So yeah, that's something that I'm actually gonna like implement ASAP.
And then also what you saying, like, this is what you gravitate to more, so this is your number one. The same way your life path number is with you for life, but every year you have a personal year number. And so that is...
And tap in on that. What that
so
mean?
it's the same as the life path, but instead of doing the date of your year that you were born, you'll do the current year that we're in. So for me, my birthday is October 20th. I would do October 10, 20 plus 2022. And so whatever my life path, my personal year number for this year is 9. And so that's more of like completion. You know, it's gonna be careers that may end. Somebody might pass away. You might end a relationship. You might relocate. All of these things are closing that chapter, because next year when we go into 2023, my year number is gonna be 1. And
so you already looked in too.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And all this is Googleable, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool,
I
cool,
even
cool.
send you some you could YouTube videos and stuff. But
And I'll put some links down below too.
Yeah, for sure. Because me being able to tap into what's going on with my year, and it doesn't go from like me being in October to October next year. It's like January to December, because we're in 2022. So when you understand what your personal year number is, you're able to stop fighting the certain things that are supposed to happen. If I didn't know, if I wasn't tapped into me being in a year of completion, I might have fought having to move. I might have fought wanting to end a relationship, because it was like, no, this is not supposed to happen. But it's like, no, this is actually the year where all of this is supposed to be happening. And then next year, when all of these new opportunities are coming up, or even some opportunities now they're taking place, because in the next year, it's like, these are the things that are going to be new, you know, projects or whatever. It's like you close the chapters in order to open these new doors, because that's just the path that God put you on, if that makes sense.
Now, of course, it'll take somebody to have faith in this,
Yes.
correct? So, and if it doesn't work for somebody, then it just doesn't work for them. You know, that's their choice, right? And I can see it as like kind of narrowing a. So what all this knowledge come from? Like, is it just experience? Is it you reading? Is it you know what I'm saying? Like, where did, I mean, was it given to you by somebody else? What?
Everything. I thank God so much, because I know, like, my dad had so much within him, but also like me not even, like, being 12, you don't get the same guidance you would from a parent as like a 20-year-old or something, right? So I missed out on that. But somehow I just really feel like what he embodied really came through my DNA, because some of the stuff that I go for in terms of, like, I have a whole bookshelf at my house, and I may not finish a book, but like I'm gonna read a chapter today and take notes on this, and I'm gonna implement that as much as I can, and then I'm gonna tap into a different book. So that way I'm just getting knowledge, whether it's like self-help, it's just for pleasure, it's something that's gonna tell me about like retirement and income, like everything I can. If I'm intrigued by it, I'm gonna be inquisitive too, and I'm gonna try to, you know, figure out where I can get the knowledge from. But definitely just trial and error, trials and tribulations from life experiences, on top of me really feeling like Kendrick Lamar, like, it's in my DNA, like, that's real. And then also not being afraid to, like, I've lived in California, I've lived in Oklahoma, I've lived in Texas, I went back to California, spent some time in Louisiana, I'm getting ready to go to Georgia. I'm open to new environments, and I'm open to new, you know, just communities, and that allows me to then, like, you know, just be in knowledge of other things. Like, if I feel like I'm getting to be the smartest person in the room, it's time for a new room, because I want to be around other people that can put knowledge into me. You know, we all got something that we're good at or that we want to know. So if I can pour something into you and you can pour something into me, and then we could just be like more abundant in knowledge, then it's like those are the type of places I'm trying to be in.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, like, it made me think about, you know, a conversation that I had. I know I mentioned it on another video before, but this has to like kind of deal with like relationships, right? Going through what you've been through and experiencing what you've been experiencing, right? What's one thing that you look back on and say, damn, like, fuck that. Next time I do any type of relationship, this is what I'm gonna go by, because me being who I am, right? Like, if I was to say, yo, if before I talk to anybody or be, you know what I'm saying, want to be with somebody, like, I'm gonna ask this. Like, we gonna cut through the bullshit.
Yeah.
We gonna get straight to it. And I know that really just come with being older, you know what I'm saying? Like, because when you're young, you know what I'm saying, you straight emotion.
Right.
You ain't thinking about this person, how they was raised. You ain't thinking about where they mind at. None of that shit. So, like, and as far, and again, like, going back towards, you know what I'm saying, us being, you know, black people, and I feel like the only way that, well, one of the ways, I believe it's very, very important, if we learn how to, for one, like you said, learn who we are first, love ourselves first, right? But I think that another problem that we have is that even though we're not loving ourselves like we should, because if we did, then that'll make it easier for us to love one another.
Right.
But for the person that says, oh, I know myself, this, that, and the other, you know what I mean? What's one thing you think black men and black women can do for each other? You know what I'm saying? Seeing that we both are facing the same oppressor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Although, you know, one side is male, one side is female, you know, and the different ways and tactics that they come at the both of us, you know what I'm saying, and try to, well, continue to separate us, not only just to separate us because we're black, but also too, you know, just trying to separate and have one side ultimately poor and the other one just ultimately depending on them, you know what I mean? Coming from a black woman, what do you feel that's something that the black man can do to love the black woman better?
Man, that's a deep question. I don't speak for all black women, I can only speak for Chi, but I know for me, it's just allowing the woman to be who she is. I've been in situations where it was like, you say you love me, but you trying to get me to dress a certain way or do certain things, and I'm telling you that's not who I am. Just love me for me, and if I'm not fitting for you, like, everybody don't have to be in a relationship. We can have connections where it's like brother, sister, or, you know, supporting each other in business, things of that nature. So when you understand and you accept the person for who they are, then you understand, like, I don't have to be trying to get with her, but we could partner, or we could, you know, like, maybe we could, you know, it's just so many other opportunities than always trying to make it into a relationship. So I think that understanding, like, the dynamic of what everybody brings to the table is important, because then it's like, okay, well, that's a great person when it comes to travel agency. I know I'm gonna call her when I'm trying to take a trip, or, you know, she's great with kids, or he's great with kids. Maybe he could come mentor this community that I know of who really needs a black male positive figure or something like that. So, you know, again, tapping back into just knowing yourself is important, but also once you know yourself, like who I was at 19, I thought I knew myself, but that ain't who I am now, about to be 33. So it's like, if you continue to tap in with yourself and rediscover who you are, then that's really going to allow you to be able to see other people for who they are too.
Yeah, one thing I tell my kids is like, you know, hey, look, you're gonna always evolve. Mm-hmm. Don't think that you know it all right now, because you don't. I don't know it all.
Right.
I'm still learning every single day. You never stop learning. Like, and I know I'm gonna have to keep repeating that, you know what I mean? For them to really just go through it one day for themselves and realize, oh, I did learn something, you know. Something I got away from, I used to always ask them what they learned today. Mm-hmm. All the time. No matter how big or how small it is, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, just back to, you know, the relationship thing, right? I believe, man, shout out Keys again. I think I heard somewhere he spoke on it. It was kind of like, if we change that narrative, right? Because what's one thing everybody be talking about? Getting money. Females too, You know what I'm saying? They may be trying to get it another way. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to the women that do go out there and get it on their own.
Right.
All respect. But even still, right? I think that the first thing we should do is build with each other. Off the muscle. Hey, what you got going on? What you do?
Right.
I'm gonna figure out all the other shit later on. But if I can figure out, okay, she's good at this. She may know this person. She may know this.
Right.
Hell, you don't know. You keep in contact with her. Y'all you just you know what I'm saying, show yourself to be cool or whatever the case may be, right? Later on down the road, who's to say she don't jump into some new shit and she double back around think about you,
Right.
or vice versa. That shit paid off versus you trying to fuck, and then you don't talk to her no more, or she don't talk to you no more.
Right.
Now it's awkward, you know what I'm saying? Numbers change, but if you came to her like on some other shit, hell, even if the number changed, you might get a text, hey, it's my new number.
Right.
Now you still in that contact. That could have been a money play later on down the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've seen people that, shit, let's say I went to high school with somebody, this, that, and the other, you know, you didn't think that their life was going to turn out like that. Of course, you don't know because you're not them, right? But then you're like, damn, they moving at a certain frequency. Like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I could have been right there to help out. Or now, you probably create a whole awkward ass situation back in the day to where it's kind of like, man, I don't even feel comfortable approaching her or him about this. Or if you do approach him, you don't get no reply back, just based off of the way you came back in the day, or hell, last week or last month.
Right.
So yeah, I think if we like change our approach and not be so sexual off the rip, you know what I'm saying? Like that that right there will change a lot. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of more people will have more success that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I don't understand how people, me personally, I don't see how people feel comfortable even thinking about something like that when your money ain't right.
Right.
Like,
Your priorities need to switch.
they out of order, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's like a big turn off to me. Like, don't be cute and bummy. Like that shit ain't what's up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or because you got male and females, you know what I'm saying, that attach themselves to other people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to leech off of them. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, and like for me, right, me being a businessman, like, you know, even though like I'm married, so I don't gotta worry about that kind of shit. You feel me? Like, if a female was trying to get at me, but she ain't talking about no money, she ain't talking about no business, you possibly couldn't help me. Making my plate and fixing my bed or making sure the kids is good. Man, fuck all that. Like, so yo, I got this thing I'm trying to work on. Do you know somebody that can help me with this if you can't help me? Or can you help me with this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. The emotional support is cool, you know what I'm saying, being whatever, but at the same time, it's like, can you help me?
Right.
If you ain't got the answer, can you lead me in the right direction, help me get the answer?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, you know, I mean, maybe for some people, but that sex shit gonna fade out.
Right.
And then sometimes it ain't, you can be in your 30s, it ain't gonna be about sex. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be on some other shit. Like, I couldn't find myself in a situation to where, you know what I'm saying, I'm worried about this, I'm trying to fix this, I'm trying to grow here, but this person want to know, okay, well, hey, what you mean, what we finna do? You mad because I ain't at home? This, that, and the other, when I'm out here and I'm trying to do this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then again, I consider it go down to passion. But if you think about it, and I think about things like this, right? I look at somebody who's successful and happy. I'm pretty sure they do got a romantic life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But they have to be willing to sacrifice this. In other words, you can't be getting a lot of money if all you're doing is laying down in the bed.
Right.
You gotta be getting up and moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't like have relations or whatever, right? And then be on the phone talking about money. You can't have relations, right? And then it's like a balance. And like I said, that's one of the things I talk about in one of my past videos. Like, it's too much sex a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like it can be. You know what I'm saying? Too much of anything is bad, because at the end of the day, you know, it is about a balance in a sense, right? Imagine if there was never nighttime, or if there was never daylight.
Right.
Too much anything ain't good for you. You know what I'm saying? So I also want to bring up this last topic, and if you want to talk about it, we can. If not,
Okay.
of course, you know we can edit this shit, so it's all good. When it comes to like you being who you are, and you knowing who you are, right? Knowing all the trauma and all the things that you went through, do you find it difficult to like? Do you find it difficult to attach yourself to somebody else? You know what I mean? Like, when you're on your mission and when you focus, you know, I mean, we all human, you know what I'm saying? And we all want somebody to lean on, share our life with, things of that nature. Because even inside what would you call, I'm trying to think of the right term, you know what I'm saying? You can put it like this, so it's like fuck boys in every community.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got the niggas that be like Grand Rising Queen and this, that, and you got them type of niggas who still just trying to,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not really on a righteous path, you know what I'm saying? They like the wolf in sheep's clothing, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you still encounter those types of people? And if and when you do, or forget if and when you do, but do you find yourself like having a hard time connecting with those types of people?
So to answer your first question about the attachment, I don't find it hard to attach to people, because I don't want to say like I'm a master detacher, but I can see like if something is not working out, it's not to necessarily like throw that person away, but knowing what role to allow them to play in my life. Like, I'm not about to keep like pouring into this if it's supposed to be a relationship, but you acting like a friend. Like, okay, I'm gonna just leave you where you at, and you know, like, I don't have no problem detaching and leaving things where they are, because I feel like my time, just like anybody else's time, is valuable. So if we not working towards building the partnership or the relationship or whatever it is, then it's like, okay, I got to take my time and my energy and put it back into whatever the main mission was or the goal was. And then in terms of like running into those type of people, I mean, you're going to run into a different type of person all the time, but in terms of knowing how to, I guess, interact with them, it kind of goes back to just knowing how to, taking the title away and knowing how to categorize them. Is this supposed to be a friend? Is this supposed to be a business associate? Is there a potential relationship here? And then just really like allowing things to play out. I feel like a lot of times, especially, I don't want to say especially with women, but I know I've experienced it before, where it's like you get that anxiety of like, what's gonna happen next, or you know, like, where is this gonna go? And so it's like I've learned to just chill. You just gotta chill and observe things, be in the moment. Don't think about what happened last week or what you want to happen in a month. Think about what's happening right now, and then just focus on that. And I do a lot of just like, we talk about talking to ourselves, I would just stop in the middle of something and be like, God, guide me on what it is that is supposed to be happening right now, allow me to see the clarity, like give me clarity on what this situation is so I know how to maneuver. Give me the instructions on what I'm supposed to do. And I feel like that is kind of what allows me to know how to operate with someone, because you don't ever want to cut off, like you said, if it could be some type of potential business later, you don't want to like just be cussing people out and cutting people off, because it could lead to something later, but also not wasting your time on what it ain't supposed to be. If that
So,
makes sense.
I mean, do you find it hard to set those boundaries?
Not at all. Not because I know who I am now. I think you asked one of those, the question you asked before, it was about like, what would you do moving forward into a relationship now that you're, you know, kind of older and more mature, you know things differently. Not utilizing my throat chakra kept me in situations I had no business being in, because I was too scared to speak up for myself. I didn't want to lose the friendship or the connection or the relationship, whatever it was. So I would just sit back and take whatever, and I would be feeling something on the inside, but I would never say it now. Now you gonna hear what the hell I gotta say, and it's gonna be respectful, but I'm not about to just sit around with the okie doke, because time is of the essence in any situation. I just feel like, you know, energy is valuable, time is valuable. You can't just be sitting around with people that say you sitting around with them. Like, what are we doing? What are we building towards? Or, you know, what is the intention behind the interaction, and then moving from there. And if you're just trying to like, it's been times where I had friends where we literally would just sit around and smoke and drink, and then it's been times where I felt like, I don't want to do that no more. Let me be around some people where we can figure out how to make a master plan and then execute it, you know?
Yeah, going in business with your friends, I think that's probably the best relationship to have, right?
Yeah.
And then that way, shit, honestly, when you go into, I mean, some people feel a certain type of way about going into business with multiple people, you know what I'm saying? Because then that's like more, I mean, I guess the accountability thing, you know what I mean? But sometimes it's good to do it by yourself, but you definitely want to be in business with people that's just as passionate as you know what I'm saying, if not more passionate.
Right. Especially when you don't know everything off top. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't know everything, then it shouldn't be a problem for me to say it's cool to partner with somebody, because then I can learn from them and then eventually do it on my own without having to go through the hiccups or the hardships that you go through when you're trying to learn it all by yourself.
If you would like take a moment just to like kind of drop something on everybody that's watching today, like what did the streets taught you or teach you, you know what I'm saying? When I say the streets, of course I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, life, you know what I'm saying? You know, life is a long road. So what's one thing that you would say that you learned from the streets, aka life?
So many things. But I definitely would say just like figuring out who you are is going to allow you to enjoy your journey better. When you stop trying to show up for people and you show up for yourself, like that's when you really start to be like, oh, this life shit is fun. Like, we could do this. But I felt like the anxiety and the depression and all the negative emotions that I felt came from me not embracing who I was. And once I started embracing the goddess in me, who I am, who I wanted to be, and I started leaving the stuff that didn't fit for me alone, that's when I really tapped into like a more enjoyable experience of life.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I think one thing for me that I'll just leave y'all with before we close is like, shit, honestly, you know, kind of like what we said earlier, you know what I'm saying, just focusing on yourself. So with that being said, focus on you, right? Love yourself. Do whatever makes you happy, right? And get money and fuck everybody else. Alright, y'all, holla at y'all. Again, this is God Nakir, Backstreet Conversations, and I'm with the one and only
GoddessChi.
Y'all already know. Peace.